We ready?
Yeah, they're ready.
All right, Coach. 2 weeks into camp. How's the progress so far?
I think progress has been good. I mean, I think you're looking through the lens, like you said, 2 weeks into camp. That was practice 11 and 12, and you're looking through that lens, you feel like you made a lot of progress. And then just from a paranoia standpoint, you start thinking about, as of this Thursday, we're 2 weeks away. So it's like, is progress is good? Is it enough? Obviously, time will tell type of deal. But no, I've been pleased. The guys like playing football. And I can't emphasize that enough, that that's not always the case, as crazy as that sounds. So we're not, as coaches, begging these guys to play ball every day. And that's a great starting point, and credit to those guys, and credit to who Coach Frost and the staff has brought in. So we like progress, and we've got to make more.
What is the greatest stride you've made over these past 2 weeks on the defensive side?
Yeah, I think, obviously we say effort and execution would be the two things that you're constantly evaluating from a coaching staff standpoint. And I think the effort's been good. I don't think the effort's been elite. And that's probably sometimes the nature of the beast as you go through camp. One of the things mentioned to the guys is you can't judge your days by the camp schedule. You got to look at it by the game schedule. So it's like you kind of get in the middle of. So again, through whatever it's been, 12 days, and you say, well, where's the effort at? Okay, well, it's better than it was in spring ball, but it's good enough to help us win a game against Jacksonville State here in a few weeks. And so, but I certainly I think we've made some strides that way from a consistency standpoint, because in the end that's what it is. Same thing from an execution standpoint. I think there's some racks, as we call them, over the course of a day, 4-play rack or 8-play rack, or just some long drives today. With one defense, two defense, and that is from a consistency standpoint. Can you stack a few plays together? Can you stack a few drives together? Can you stack a few periods together? Can you stack then ultimately a few days together? So I think you're seeing some level of consistency. And what happens, I'll say this, is once you've done that and the effort and the execution starts giving you those bright spots, the bad ones look really, really bad, and so it's sometimes it's hard as a coach not to focus on some of those, but now we're making progress in both those categories.
What don't you know?
Well, I think what don't you know? I think you can't buy toughness in the transfer portal. It doesn't come next to their names and stuff like that. And toughness and grit and response. Now we're trying to put them in every situation we possibly can to simulate that. You got people come from all different angles, and the baggage that comes with from a coaching standpoint. We're all new too, so we don't. That's not pointing at players that way. But when it's you're under the gun, man, and that thing is chaos on a Saturday. Those are the things you can't find out until you're in it. So you simulate it, you address it when you see some of the symptoms, and maybe when it's not the right way, you should certainly highlight the things when it's good. For instance, we did a 12-play drive today. I think we got a takeaway on play 11. That was a scripted 12 plays. And the point being is don't miss the good stuff, right? So that's an example as we try to simulate that. Say, no, the 11th play of the drive, we still get an opportunity. Because real world, it's not scripted. Real world, it's kind of emotional by I would suggest by play 10. We're not feeling real good about where the ball's moving, but man, you still got an opportunity to make a play. So those are the things that you try to put in the situations, but you find that out on Saturdays.
When do you start adding to your plate and breaking down the first opponent, or have you already started?
Yeah, when you got a new staff in particular, I think everything here is different. Certainly based on the opponent, who they have back. I think in the transfer portal era as well, it's a little bit less in the way. Okay, what's their roster look like? You always assume from a coaching staff standpoint they'll do the same thing as us, as opposed to scheme, looking through the lens of how do they highlight their best players, and that. And so, as you finish up this week, you kind of look at it through the lenses. Once you get 2 weeks out from game day, it's all about the game. It's not camp anymore. It's not spring ball. And believe me, as we rep these guys right now, it's not equal opportunity. I mean, we're looking at the lens of who are those top 11, who are the 11 we can put behind them, and then in the best case scenario, you got even a few more guys that you can go in. But very quickly would be the short answer, and kind of earmark maybe Thursday of this week, 2 weeks out, where we got to.
Coach, who started to separate themselves at the safety position?
At the safety position? I think probably not as much separation as maybe I anticipated. I think the one guy to highlight, I think Phil Dunham has kind of been, since he's been here, consistent, both from an effort standpoint and an execution standpoint. And he's probably that prime example. When it doesn't look right, it looks really, really wrong, because we have such a high expectation for him. But I think he has. And Braden Marshall has been a nice bright spot this fall, a guy that we didn't get the chance to see as much in the spring. You can see that he's played some football, and several other guys we're taking a look at. Damari Henderson. You're talking about Jaden Gould. Their best plays are all playing good enough. And then same with Jay Will. So Jaden is a couple guys been battling some injuries, so that I guess the battle continues as we go through that. But Jair Brown at nickel, you see some flashes. Christian Peterson, you see some flashes, and so probably not as much separation as sometimes it is, and sometimes that's a good thing. And it'd be easier as a coach when there is separation, but then you got to look at it through the other lens and say, well, maybe we got some pieces of the puzzle that. We can play, and it's fun to have Antoine Jackson back too.
What do you see from the effort from that group?
What I see is guys embracing the role within the organization. We call it being a knockdown piece in the run game and a knockdown piece in the pass game. Obviously, you got to cover. That goes without saying. But they do call you safety for a reason. A 10-yard gain doesn't have to be a fatal. A 20-yard gain doesn't have to be a fatal. Again, we don't want them, but let's not pretend like we'll watch a lot of preseason football and I see the ball going downfield at times. And so we need to embrace that, and they have. Now, recognizing the fact that you only do so much live over the course of fall camp, and so it's not pretend knockdown pieces where you're around the football. I actually got to get them on the ground. But I think they've embraced that. Every play that's been snapped outside, I think the 3-yard line, we did scrimmage the other night, every play that was snapped outside the 3-yard line included someone getting tackled. I mean, that might be a low bar, but it may not be the first guy or the second guy, but eventually embracing that role, make them play another down, put us in a situation where we can stack 3 good plays together and get off the field or get a takeaway and some of those things. And so they've embraced that. I give them a lot of credit for that.
Coach Frost praised the front 7 with the scrimmage yesterday. Now that you get a chance to talk to you, what was your evaluation of defense during yesterday's scrimmage and your perspective on it?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of positive snaps as you go through it. It creates scenarios that you have to respond to. You see some production in the defensive front. When it really gets every defense is this way, right? If you have a disruption from your front 4, front 3, or sometimes if you're bringing 5 or whatever the numbers are, you become very anti-fragile very, very quickly because it just puts so much stress and pressure on offense. And not just the play where you have the disruption. If John Walker gets in the backfield and they can't get a play started, that's one play, but it also creates a little bit of indecision in terms of the next play called the next series, and there's a cumulative impact when you're doing some of those things defensively. So having that impact on those guys, and that's what you see, and that's what you feel. And there's also good reminders in it. A drive that we don't finish the right way, a drive where we give into tempo. So you learn some of those negative lessons just the same as you go through the scrimmage. So it certainly is not all roses as you go through it. But no, I think what you see is some guys kind of embracing the ability to penetrate in the gaps and be physical. Some bully ball on the interior and the defensive line. Guys not just I'm a pass rusher. Haven't seen any of some of those telltales that you get sometimes where guys just want to have one specific role. I mean, we some physical work, some goal line work, and everything else. And so. You can only see so much in the scrimmage, but I would suggest we got a pretty good evaluation. It was, and again, needles pointing up, but we got a lot of work to do.
You said it would be easier if there was separation among certain spots. Where's the most competition right now? Where are the biggest position battles on your side?
Yeah, I would mention in the safety room. I think that's one. I mean, I think certainly as a whole in the secondary, just some of the guys didn't have an opportunity. I mentioned Braden Marshall and Antoine didn't get a chance to rep as much in the spring and stuff like that. And we want the competition, and some of that competition is not just for the one line. It may be a little bit more clearly defined in terms of the one line and where guys are at. It's also that the 3. It's the meaning that using a position like so many of them where you play 2 starters. Well, who's that next guy going into the game? And then who's the next guy going in after that? And are we willing to go past that line? And so in terms of that competition, I would include every position group as we go through this, and really impressed with some edge guys, Malachi and Nigel Leak, and okay, well, who's that next line? Because the other guy, the next group's got to play. I mentioned John in the defensive front. And you got Horace and RJ, some guys that we brought the program in spring and that. And it's like, okay, well, who's that next guy in? And how deep can we go? And so, that competition is critical, not just for, who runs out the first snap.
Coach, do you have kids?
I do.
Did you get to take them to school?
They actually start Wednesday. My crew does. But we bump really I don't know. Some coaches talk about being family friendly and stuff like that, but it's kind of rare to actually mean it. And coach for us, one of the guys that had little ones to get a chance to take them to school and stuff like that. I'm not going to skip work on Wednesday to take them, but anyway, I had my opportunity this morning, and they weren't there, but a lot of guys did, so that's pretty cool.
How do you like working for Coach Frost, speaking of that?
Yeah.
How's he like as a coach, as boss?
No, I think, you talk about a guy that has high standards, high expectations. When the common denominator, you talk to some of these defensive guys, he wants us running better than anybody in the country from a defensive standpoint, and that's all you can ask for. Okay, we can coach effort, so he has a North Star that we're working towards. He wants us to be physical, he wants us to be fast, and so it's very clearly defined in terms of his expectations, and so what you do as a coach is you take ownership when you don't meet those expectations, and that's very clearly defined as well. And then it's that trickle down effect. We deliver the message from him to the guys.
You mentioned Antoine Jackson a couple times briefly. Since he's come in the fall and been fully healthy, what's most impressive about the game?
Well, Antoine's here, so I'm going to be as positive, and I'm going to try to find something negative about him, just so he doesn't get a big head. Now, Antoine's done a really nice job. This is a guy that anytime you're coming off an injury, sometimes the coaches, especially when you're a new staff, he's on the shelf, and so there's so much going on. And mentioned, John's the same way. It's like you're just worried about who's on the field on those given days, and it's not because you forget about them, but it's just you don't have the luxury of thinking about them. But he's done a really nice job, and been probably the most consistent in that room over the course of fall camp. Jaden Bellamy's had a good camp as well, but has had production for us, which is another earmark in that corner room, has shown some physicality. Talk about that knockdown piece, not just in safety land, but those corners. It takes 11 guys to stop the run. A catch doesn't beat you, a catch and run does. Shows a great understanding defensively, and then some football IQ. And so, all joking aside, been very impressed and pleased and excited about Antoine.
You mentioned players getting to know one another, but coaches as well. How have your defensive coaches challenged you?
Yeah, I think it's always and it's really important to do so, is there's a package, there's the X's and O's, and people, that scheme, but then the system is really the thing that, from a holistic approach staff-wise, that's so critical. Everybody runs a version of cover 3 or cover 2 or 4-3 or 3-4 and stuff like that. And those are great conversations as well. And in the end, you got to decide which one of those things you're going to major in, which one of those things you're going to minor in. And obviously, everybody has input. But where they've been just tremendous. Never worked with Coach Nofrio before, just outstanding. His again, system for coaching the linebacker position. And one of the things I've learned over 23 years in coaching, one of my responsibilities is, okay, here's big picture. Okay, what's your system to get this? We need this guy here, we need this guy here. Okay, what's your system? And he does it, and this all coaches. Coach Dunford does a great job with the linebackers to say, okay, this is the system that we can attach to. Where do we place our eyes? What's a response to certain plays, both in the run game and the pass game? Same thing when you're talking about Coach Kmart in the defensive front. Okay, I want to learn your system for coaching your position as you learn the scheme. That we holistically for 11 guys moving in the right direction. And so they're not learning how I call a 3 technique. If you're John Walker right now, and you can ask John, but I don't think he's being coached a whole lot different from a system standpoint. How Coach Kmart coaches the defensive front guys. Now the call's different, and there may be majoring in something different than maybe he's done in the past, but minus that, there's a system. So I say that because that's a critical piece as we talk through the newness and all these new players and new staff and stuff like that, to sit at the front of the room and have I got the easy job, everybody's got to learn my stuff. That doesn't make a whole lot of sense in this day and age in particular, and learn some lessons in the past as it in regards to that, and so then there's ownership also. By position coaches. But no, it's been a really good staff. And Coach Dawson, we worked together in the past, 20 years ago. He does a tremendous job with those edge guys. Same thing, and then Coach Harris is a guy I haven't had a chance to work with. But you can talk to Antoine about. Does an outstanding job. And again, it's his verbiage, not mine. But we got to play man on one. We know what the call is. Okay, you got to play man, but it's his system to allow those guys to be successful. So it's been really, really good to lean on those guys.
All right, thanks, Coach.
All right, thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you, Coach.